movies focused on killer Santas. But maybe not so surprisingly, there have been some real-life killer Santas out there. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about the disturbing stories of a couple of them. Just a heads up, this video may not be holly jolly, and there are some darker themes. Joseph and Alice Ortega loved Christmas. It was their favorite time of year to spend with their family. Their two oldest sons, James and Charles, and their daughters Letitia, Alicia, and Sylvia. On Christmas Eve of 2008, the Ortega family invited all 5 of their adult children and their families to their home in Covina, California, a middle to upper middle class, low-crime community about 20 miles east of Los Angeles. The family was in the middle of a Christmas Eve poker game when the doorbell rang, and what unfolded next was unimaginable. Shortly after the doorbell sounded, police received 911 calls from the Ortega's neighbor. The caller cried into the phone that someone was burning down the Ortega's house. That someone was Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, dressed in a Santa Claus suit. The fire department was dispatched to the Ortega house, but the calls kept coming in. Some even reported that they heard shooting coming from the house, and when the police arrived at the scene, it was a total nightmare. The only surviving Ortega family members police could locate was Letitia, her husband, and their 8-year-old daughter, who managed to escape the house and make it to a neighbor's house.
Come immediately.
Who's in your house?
Immediately.
Ma'am, is the guy in your house right now?
We're having 2 houses down on the cul-de-sac.
Okay. Ma'am, hold on. Is he at your house?
Yes, he's still shooting.
What do you think his name is, Bruce?
His name is Bruce Pardo.
Okay, and who is he to you guys?
Excuse me?
Who is he to you?
He's my ex-brother-in-law. They're going through this right now.
Okay.
With my sister.
Hold on 1 second, okay?
I don't know who else is alive.
I know, ma'am. Just stay on the phone with me, okay?
My whole family, there's 30 people, 25 people.
I know. It's okay. The officers are there. They're trying to get to you guys, okay?
Letitia's daughter, however, had been shot, so the family had already made their way to the hospital. What happened was Sylvia Ortega Pardo, Bruce Pardo's soon-to-be ex-wife, had finalized their divorce the week prior to the attack. This apparently caused Bruce to snap in the worst way imaginable, and this was his way of getting revenge. Bruce had arrived at the Ortega home in a Santa costume with a gift-wrapped package containing a rolling air compressor converted to deliver gasoline from it, and at least 4 9mm semi-automatic handguns. His 8-year-old niece Katrina, the daughter of Letitia, ran to answer the door in excitement to be greeted with the Santa, only to be shot in the face. Luckily, she survived. Bruce then started firing indiscriminately at fleeing partygoers. After he ran out of bullets, Bruce pulled out his homemade flamethrower to spray 18 gallons of gasoline into the house, causing it to burn down. In the middle of investigating the aftermath of this chaotic scene, police received a tip from a neighbor. She and her husband had seen a car leaving the cul-de-sac at around 11:45 p.m. Police started searching the Ortega's scorched home. They found bodies burned beyond recognition, which were later identified as missing Ortega family members. A total of 9 people were murdered. While police were busy investigating this massacre, they received a call from Bruce's brother, Brad Pardo, who returned home from a Christmas party to find his brother laying dead in a pool of blood. Bruce had taken his own life. On Christmas Day, police interviewed Letitia, who said that despite the Santa Claus costume, beard, and hat, she could identify the shooter to be her sister's ex-husband, Bruce Pardo. Investigators then went back to Brad's house, where Bruce was found dead, and searched his car, which ended up being the same car the Ortega's neighbors had described seeing on their street after the murders. Inside the vehicle, police found a Santa suit and thousands of rounds of ammunition. The car had also been booby-trapped to explode once the Santa suit was removed, and though the vehicle exploded, no one was injured. The autopsy of Bruce revealed 3rd-degree burns on his hands and arms, and part of the Santa suit had melted onto his body. Police also found $17,000 in cash cling-wrapped on his legs inside a girdle. Police believed he didn't initially plan to kill himself. Around the same time, a man reported a suspicious car parked in front of his Pasadena home. Police ran the plates and found the car had been rented by Bruce. Though the car wasn't rigged, it was packed with supplies including a computer, clothes, water, food, and maps of the US and Mexico. Police believed Bruce had been planning on escaping to Mexico after his killing spree, and this was his getaway vehicle. The vehicle was also parked about 500 feet from the house of Scott Nord, Sylvia's divorce attorney. This was definitely not a coincidence, and Bruce was likely planning on also murdering Scott, because in June of that year, Bruce was ordered to pay $1,800 a month in spousal support. The divorce clearly took over Bruce's life, and he began to plot ways to get back at Sylvia, and instead of just killing her, he decided that he was going to destroy everything and everyone that she loved. The most likely explanation for Bruce's suicide would be his unexpected injuries. He didn't realize there was an open flame somewhere in the house, likely a candle, and when he was spraying gasoline, this led to an explosion that left him horrifically burned. Instead of driving to kill Sylvia's attorney and then escaping to Mexico like he most likely originally planned, Bruce instead went to his brother's, where he killed himself because of how badly he was burned. Katrina Yusupolsky is alive and well today, and fortunately she hasn't let the horrific experience overtake her, and she's currently living her life to the fullest. But unfortunately, Bruce Pardo was not the only story of a killer Santa named Bruce. Bruce MacArthur was known as an outwardly jovial man who was the perfect Santa due to his ample white hair and beard, and so that's what he did as his second job. He was a Santa at Toronto's Agincourt Mall until as recently as 2016. Bruce was at the time 68 years old, and when he wasn't working as a mall Santa, he was working as a successful landscaper, trusted by his many clients to turn their yards into lush gardens. The sick thing is, Bruce's jolly personality he conveyed was just a front. The parents happily watching their kids on his knee, and his clients admiring their new lawns had no idea what Bruce actually was, a necrophile and a serial killer. Little did one of his clients know, he was turning their lush new garden into a graveyard. Between September 2010 and June 2017, Bruce murdered at least 8 men. His targets were usually vulnerable, having been poor, lonely, or new immigrants. All of Bruce's victims had arrived to what they thought was a safe country to explore their sexuality. Bruce's seemingly welcoming and friendly nature led his victims to thinking he was a friend and to trusting him. Then he would kill them. Bruce was described by colleagues and coworkers to be a great guy who always had a smile on his face. For 30 years, he was seemingly happily married to his wife Janice, who he had 2 children with and lived in a house in Oshawa with, a middle-class town very close to downtown Toronto. In the late 90s, however, Bruce came out of the closet, probably to the shock of his wife, and not long after suggesting that the two have an open relationship, he left his family and moved to Toronto. But he remained on speaking terms with his family. Bruce became a regular in gay neighborhoods and wanted to be part of the LGBT community. But pretty soon that community didn't want him to be a part of it, as he quickly earned himself a reputation of being trouble. In 2003, when in his late 50s, Bruce received his first criminal conviction for the assault of a man with an iron pipe in the man's home 2 years prior. Bruce turned himself in to the police, and throughout the case, he maintained that he blacked out before the assault and didn't know why he did it. In January of 2003, Bruce pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault causing bodily harm and assault with a weapon. But thanks to his lawyers, Bruce didn't serve prison time. Rather, he was ordered to attend counseling for anger management and provide a DNA sample to police. A few months later, Bruce had his record suspended, so nobody would ever know that he'd been arrested at all. Bruce's landscaping business was busy enough to occasionally hire casuals, until one of those hires disappeared, Mahid Kayhan. Bruce admitted to police to knowing Mahid. He told police that Mahid had worked for him doing landscaping for a month, and the 2 men had a sexual relationship that Bruce claimed he broke off. Bruce was not a suspect at the time of the interview.